Okay, good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, January 20th, 2026 meeting of the Lake Forest City Council. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Certainly. Honorable Mayor Pack.
Here.
Alderman Tippett.
Here.
Alderman Clements.
Here.
Alderman Notes. Here. Alderman Powers.
Here.
Alderman LaBert.
Here.
Alderman Bothell is absent. Alderman Weber.
Here.
Alderman Walder.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First item on the agenda is comments by mayor, and the only comment I have is congratulations to our Lake Forest residents, the Chicago Bears, for a spectacular season. Didn't end quite how everybody wanted it to, but I think you have to consider that quite the success. So congratulations to them. The next item on the agenda is comments by city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and members of City Council. Good evening. I have one item under my report this evening. As the council may recall, on October 6th, the City Council approved the issuance of $20 million in general obligation bonds to finance the new police station facility. And as you may recall, because the city was financing a portion of that project, about $6 million in cash, that provided us some flexibility in terms of timing and going out to market for the bond sale in an effort to try to time that sale to receive the most favorable interest rates. And I'm pleased to report that the city held the auction for the bond sale this morning. And so I've asked our finance director, Katie Skibby, to give a brief update to the council on the results of the sale.
Thank you, City Manager Wishaw. So as the city manager said, today was the auction for the 2026 general obligation bonds. The bonds were set to net $20 million in proceeds after issuance costs, all for the new police station. I'm sorry, I didn't. The bonds were set with a 5% coupon rate, which is attractive to investors who then pay a premium for the bonds and bring that interest rate down. The winning bidder paid a premium of $2.1 million for these bonds, which then brought the issuance down to $18.155 million. The debt service for these bonds will be paid for by property taxes. And as you all know, we increased the property tax levy last year by $500,000 and this year again, and it will be phased in fully in the 2026 tax levy. This was a very competitive bid process. It was bid online through Spear Financial's online portal. We had 12 bidders who bid and received a total of 51 bids. Spear Financial said that this was the most active bidding process that they had seen since 2024. So they were very impressed with the level of attention we got from our bids. And it was a very competitive bid process. The lowest bidder was Hilltop Securities, with a true interest cost of 3.263%, which is approximately 30 basis points lower than our previous modeled rate of 3.57%. The reduction in interest rates resulted in a reduction in overall debt service of about $651,000. As I said, it was very competitive. The top 5 bidders were within 0.1% of each other, and Spear was very happy with the results when looking at our comparables and other things going on in the market today. So overall, we are very happy with what the results of the bond sale. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Director Skibby? Alderman Weber.
Thank you. I was just going to comment that it's really exciting to see that, and I'm thrilled to see this project continue in fruition.
Other comments or questions? How does this compare to the last bond issuance that we had?
So the last bond issuance was in a different rate environment. We had a true interest cost of 2.73 at the last bond issuance. We did have, I think we had 9 bidders with maybe 52 bids. So it is somewhat similar in the competitiveness, but 2023 was a different rate environment, and those were 10-year bonds, and this is now 15-year bonds. So it's expected we would pay a little bit more interest.
Sure, but substantially less than we predicted. as
Yes.
we entered the process. Very good. Other comments or questions on this matter? Okay. Thank you.
And that concludes my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Excellent. The next item is an opportunity for citizens to address the council. Is there anyone present who would like to address the council on non-agenda items? Okay. Oh, please come up.
Poly Positive here, East Lake Forest 1. It was Elf 1, sorry. Anyway, Happy New Year. Great to see everybody again. Just wanted to thank the sanitation, for their extra special help a few weeks ago. And oh my gosh, thank the Finance Committee for all their fabulous work. We are really in great shape, and I look around at other towns, and I'm very appreciative of everyone's hard work. So, Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else present who would like to address the council on non-agenda items? Seeing none, we will move on to committee reports. First report is from Public Works. And this will be presented by Byron Coots, Superintendent of Engineering. This is consideration of action items relating to the Lake Woodbine Bridge project, approval of a construction contingency in the amount of $214,882 for invoices to the State of Illinois Department of Transportation, approval of construction contingency in the amount of $214,881 to Dunnett Bay Construction Company, and approval of the advancement of fiscal year 2027 funding in the amount of $500,000. Director Coots.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of City Council. Tonight I will be focusing on the schedule for the project as well as a overview of the contingency being requested. Looking at the picture, that's from about a week ago. You can see that most of the bridge was already removed last week. The contractor will be back tomorrow. They'll be focusing on basically building access going down into the ravine so that they can build a temporary platform. Basically, they left some, you can kind of see it on the other side of the ravine, they left some of the old pier abutment where they're going to build a temporary platform over that, which is going to help them build the arches in a month or two whenever they get to that point. So I was kind of joking earlier that, I've been working on this project for like 4.5 years trying to get it to the bid, and then once the project starts, like the bridge is removed in like 4.5 days. So it's just kind of amazing how quick it goes once construction starts. So for schedule, I'm showing both bridges because that's kind of how we're publicizing it to the community, but I'll, for the most part, focus on Lake Woodbine. So we're in the midst of removal, as you can see from the picture. There'll be prep work with that going for the next couple weeks. At some point in the next couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks, there'll be some larger equipment, cranes that will be set up. Whenever that equipment comes in, we'll coordinate with any residents that live right there to make sure if we are blocking access to driveways that we've coordinated that. Once that kind of preparation phase is complete, April and May is when the arch installation will begin. And then once we get to the summer months, that's when the deck, sidewalk, railing installation, approach, and some other concrete work will go on as well. And then looking for a completion date in mid-September. And then the Lake and Spruce Bridge, which is, we also call it the McLennan Reed Bridge, same contractor. That's still slated to start either the last week of March or the first week of April. It'll be mostly ravine work for the first couple months, and then over the summer months, we'll do deck removal, steel repairs, and then the railing replacement as well. And we basically set up that project to end in the middle of September, around the same time as Lake Woodbine. Overall, the contractor has started off really strong. They're very organized, very cooperative. They just won a award at Lake County APWA today for a different bridge project last year in Libertyville. So that's good to see. In terms of communication, we sent a letter, I don't remember exactly when, it's been a few weeks or a month, where we basically sent it to that whole area, and we titled the letter Lake Road Bridges, and we were talking about both projects and where to find information. So that information is out there. Now we're kind of doing one-on-one meetings. So we've met with several residents that way, and then we also set up it's kind of like a realtor box, if you remember it at Burr Oak, like on each end of the project, where we can put like updated flyers every couple weeks for maybe people that, don't use the internet. So that is going very well at the moment. And then in terms of the request tonight, the low bid was in the amount of $4,297,000. This happened in the fall. We planned it right before the budget process purposely. So once we got that number, I added the 10% contingency on top of that for the budget. The 10% contingency was roughly $429,000. So setting it up that way, we budgeted exactly what we needed. So that's why you'll look at it and everything matches exactly. It's just due to the timing. So the overall budget was $4.727 million, including that 10% contingency. What we're asking for tonight is for that basically to approve the use of the contingency, basically splitting it 50-50 between IDOT and then 50-50 to Dunnet Bay. And that's very similar to what we did with Deer Path Streetscape last year. And the reason for that is, let's say there's some project eligible costs, like a scope change or whatever that happens in the field, where I would need additional money to reimburse IDOT. That's where that 50% comes from. But if there is, let's say, something that maybe isn't a good fit for IDOT, we want to do some increased signage or something that IDOT would not necessarily want to participate in or approve, we could then go to Dunnet Bay Construction separately, and it may be quicker that way in certain circumstances. So that's the reason we're setting it up that way. And here is the action that the mayor spoke to earlier. And with that, I can take any questions.
Are there questions for Director Coots? Alderman Powers.
Director Coots, for traffic flow come beach season, are we communicating well in advance to the neighborhood as to how that pattern would change with both those bridges being out till September?
Yeah, we have taken that into account. It hasn't been on any of the initial information that has gone out, but that is something where once we get closer to beach season, we can update that on our website and put in the e-news as well.
Perfect, thanks.
Other questions or comments? Okay, then we will move on to if there's anybody in the audience that would like to comment on this matter. Okay, seeing none, then I'm going to ask for approval for consideration of action items relating to Lake Woodbine Bridge project, approval of a construction contingency in the amount of $214,882 for invoices to the State of Illinois Department of Transportation, approval of a construction contingency in the amount of $214,881 to Dunnet Bay Construction Company, and approval of advancement of fiscal year 2027 funding in the amount of $500,000. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
This will be a roll call vote.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Clements.
Aye.
Alderman Notes.
Aye.
Alderman Powers.
Aye.
Alderman Levert.
Aye.
Alderman Weber.
Aye.
Alderman Walder.
Aye.
7 yea, 0 nay, motion's carry.
Very good. The next item will also be presented by Superintendent Coots. This is approval of construction engineering for the Waukegan and Wesley intersection project to Gewalt Hamilton Associates Incorporated, and authorize the city manager to execute an agreement in the amount of $378,875 to include a contingency in the amount of $19,125 for a total cost of $398,000. Superintendent.
Thank you very much. In addition to the construction engineering approval that's being requested tonight, I'm also going to touch on the bid results from Friday and then also the schedule. First, though, I just wanted to remind everyone about the scope. So the purpose of this project is to improve intersection safety. We all know there's a lot of left turn crashes there without left turn lanes, dedicated left turn lanes, and then congestion, around football games and such. So in order to do that, we're adding 4 lanes, and we're doing that by replacing the signal, drainage upgrades, pavement widening, resurfacing. I mean, it is a full intersection reconstruction. In terms of the bid results, just a reminder is we have grant funds. We have $2.6 million of federal grant funding that's coming through IDOT. Due to that, we have to be on the state bid letting or bid opening, which was on Friday. So we received the results for that, which we were pretty happy. In terms of the pricing, the base budget without contingency, we had budgeted $3.6 million, and it came in at $3.663 million. So 60 grand, it was about 2%. Anytime you can be within 2%, I believe that is a success. So really happy with that. With the available budget we had a total number of $3.96 million. That allowed us to add 8% contingency on top of that with the budget that is available. So that worked out really well. In terms of schedule there, at the chart on the bottom, we're in the utility relocation phase, and what that means is that's actually not our own utilities. That's private utilities, dry utilities, I guess, if you want to call it that. So that would be ComEd, Comcast, Extenet, AT&T, North Shore Gas. I'm leaving out another one. I believe it's MCI. But there's a lot of just fiber in general in that area that needs to be relocated. We've been working on that for a while now. There's a field meeting tomorrow, so we're hoping to get some more dates. I believe AT&T will probably be the first one to mobilize sometime in the next couple weeks. We've sent out letters, or we've passed out letters to some of the houses close by, letting them know about that work. So we're just kind of waiting on a schedule at that point. With the bid just being received on Friday, it takes about 60 days for IDOT to kind of work through that process to execute to award the agreement and to execute it. So we're anticipating sometime in the middle of March, second or third week of March, where the contractor, the tentative low bidder, which is D-Land Construction, where they would actually be able to mobilize. So the intent is to try to get as much as those private utilities relocated in the meanwhile. Once D-Land starts, they'll start with roadway excavation, base widening. We don't have their full schedule yet at this point. We'll try to get some of that information in the next couple of weeks, but this is a probable schedule. And then in May, they'll continue with the excavation, the base widening, and then June and July, they'll start with actually replacing the signal and milling. I should back up a minute. At the very beginning of the project, they'll put up like a temporary signal. You've probably seen that where you'll have like basically, the wood poles on the side with kind of a line strung across, with a different signal on it, and then they'll kind of bag the old ones. It'll be that condition for most of the project. And we're already starting to think through traffic with the school. So we're already, with operations, and we're already trying to think through like timing, what can we do? So we know there'll be more conversations that'll have to happen with the school because they'll have some concerns. But getting back to the schedule, June, the permanent signal will start being erected. That we'll start doing, some of the pavement restoration, sod restoration, and other restoration work like that as well. And then we're aiming for the end of July or the beginning of August for substantial completion, which is basically the road's opening, the signal is functioning, and then there'll be 2 or 3 weeks of punch list after that. Some cleanup work, touch up as well. In terms of communications, I kind of touched on it a minute or two ago. We were contemplating sending out a letter to the whole area about a week or two ago, but we were discussing the fact that we didn't have the bid yet, and we didn't want to send out this letter and then have the bid results come in high. So we basically decided to just individually pass out the letter to like the 5 homes that are right there to give them a heads up about the utility relocations. Now that, we received the bid results and it's within our budget, we'll look at doing a more extensive mailing here soon. I believe the website's already active, and we'll start gearing up with e-news and all that, and then coordination with the school as well. So that brings me to the construction engineering, the item being requested tonight. So issued a RFP like we always do. We received 2 proposals, one from Thomas Engineering and then one from Gewalt Hamilton. In this case, in reviewing the proposal, even though GHA was a little bit higher, they really understood kind of the project management expectations. Because whenever you run a project, there's obviously the measuring and documentation and all of that, but you know, like on Deer Pass Streetscape and all of our other projects, we really want to focus on like all the communication and being proactive and coordination with operations and the schools and all of that. So we felt that GHA really understood that, and their proposal really explained that. They also were the project designer, the phase 2 designer, so they're very, you know, have a really good understanding of the project, which can be helpful during construction as well. The budget was $380,000, and then we adjusted it during the budget process back in the fall to $398,000 to account for the contingency associated with the Gewalt Hamilton price. And then now that brings me to the council action tonight, and with that I can take any questions.
All right, Alderman Levert.
Thank you, Byron. In moving the utilities, the companies that you mentioned, will there be disruption to business, schools, or residents in the area with either, I don't know, cable, internet, telecom?
There shouldn't be any planned outages, but like as we know with some of the other projects over the last year, sometimes things happen in the field, but no one's mentioned any planned outages at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Others?
Mr. Byron, could you please comment about the non-destructive testing work that was done for the 14-inch water main? In December, we approved the funds for that testing, and that was going to give us some assurance as to the condition of the pipe underneath this potentially brand-new intersection. Could you please comment on that?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I had that note on my my paper here, but I skipped over it. So yeah, as you remember, I sent out an email sometime in late December following up on the results from the RGN water main testing, which we were overall pleased with it. They kind of rated the system like fair, which fair may not sound good, but when you're looking at, you know, a water main that's 50, 60 years old, we actually thought fair was pretty good. There was a couple spots where the deterioration was a little more severe. So looking at those charts that we sent, it would be like the areas in red. There was really 2 spots. The one of concern was in the middle of the intersection, adjacent to like a valve that we were going to replace as part of the project anyways. So the intent is to basically, in addition to doing the valve, is to do like another 10 or 20 feet of pipe, which sounds simple if it was out on a small road or if it was out in the grass, but when you do it on a road like that with, you know, the traffic control and all of that that's necessary, it's not that simple. But we are looking into options to do that, either with the contractor that's winning the IDOT job. We can kind of do it as a change order. We could look at options of doing some kind of advanced contract, but those talks are still ongoing internally.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Alderman Clemmons.
Byron, will you be keeping one lane in each direction open through the project?
Correct, that's the intent. So looking at the plans, they were basically only having one lane closure at a time. So as an example, both northbound lanes would be open and one southbound lane would be open, and then they would swap it as necessary. That being said, as I kind of alluded to earlier, you know, we haven't sat down with the contractor specifically to see if they have some kind of difference to that, but that's generally a standard procedure for this type of intersection. So I expect it would be one lane at a time.
So am I correct that D-Land is the same entity that we contracted with for the Deer Path Streetscape project?
Yep, that's correct.
And we were ultimately happy with that?
We're still working through kind of some remaining items, which is common with some contracts. Looking at it through the IDOT lens, they met all of their project requirements, all of their contractual obligations in terms of completion date. You know, we are working through some small stuff, but ultimately they did satisfy the contract.
And I would just note that the bidding process and award is run through the Illinois Department of Transportation, not the city. So we're limited in
Right.
what we can do.
Okay, I got it. Any other comments or questions? Is there anybody from the public that would like to comment on this matter? All right, seeing none, then I'm going to ask for a motion to approve construction engineering for the Waukegan intersection project to Walt Hamilton Associates Incorporated, and authorize the city manager to execute an agreement in the amount of $378,875 to include a contingency in the amount of $19,125 for a total cost of $398,000. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
This will be a roll call vote.
Alderman Clemmons.
Aye.
Alderman Notes. Alderman Powers.
Aye.
Alderman Levert.
Aye.
Alderman Weber.
Aye.
Alderman Walder.
Aye.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
7 yea, 0 nay, motion carries.
Very good, thank you.
My question was, now that it's going from 4 lanes to how many lanes?
So the through lanes will still be the same. It'll just be, thank you. There'll just be additional turn lanes, and that's where the additional width comes from. But the through lanes will still be the same in each direction.
So the crosswalks are going to be quite substantial, right?
They'll be longer, correct. But, you know, IDOT over the years has updated the requirements, accessibility requirements, so there'll be push buttons at each corner, and they're audible push buttons as well, so that's the requirement these days. So those are considered safer, but yes, it is a longer distance that they would have to walk across, correct.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. The next item on the agenda is items for omnibus vote consideration, of which there are 8 this evening. As always, we'll read the 8 items. If there are any items that Alderman would like removed or taken separately, please let me know after I've read all items. Item 1, approval of December 1st, 2025 City Council meetings. Item 2, approval of the check register for the period of November 15th through December 26th, 2025. Item 3, approval to extend the city's grant services agreement with the Ferguson Group for grant research writing services for 2026. Item 4, approval of Verdeka security camera and access control maintenance for fiscal year 2026 from Modern Media Technologies in the amount of $43,770. Item 5, consideration to waive the bidding process and authorize the city manager to execute an agreement in the amount of $44,500 with Pyrotechnico Services for the fireworks display at the festival and fireworks event to be held at Deer Path Park, July 4th, 2026. Item 6, approval of an Illinois Department of Transportation resolution appropriating $1,500,000 in motor fuel tax funds to be used for 2026 annual paving resurfacing program. Item 7, consideration of an ordinance approving a recommendation from the Building Review Board for 58 Marion Avenue, first reading, and if desired by the council, final approval. And finally, item 8, consideration of a recommendation from the Plan Commission in support of tentative and final plat approval of the Saunders Estates Lake Forest subdivision for property at 480 Saunders Road. Approval by motion. Are there any items that council would like removed or taken separately?
Mayor, I just have a question on item 5. Is this the same company that we've used in the past?
It is. Yeah, I can speak to that. It is the same company. It's only appearing on your agenda because traditionally the contract was managed by the Friends Foundation, and now it's coming directly through the city.
And is it the charge, is that the same scope as we've always had, or is this a different level?
We've added slightly to the budget for an enhanced display this year in recognition of the 250th celebration.
Thank you.
And I know the question had come up, so I'll just note it is the same company that Onwentsia Club uses as well. So there are some efficiencies in staging and operations, and it's using the same vendor.
Other comments or questions? All right. At this time, can I have a motion to approve the 8 omnibus items as presented? Before we vote on this, is there anybody in the public that would like to comment on this matter? Seeing none. This will be a roll call vote.
Alderman Notes.
Aye.
Alderman Powers.
Aye.
Alderman Levert.
Aye.
Alderman Weber.
Aye.
Alderman Walter.
Aye.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Clontz.
Aye.
7 yeas, or Alderman Powers. Sorry,
Beg your pardon?
I didn't hear your vote, sir.
I said aye,
Thank you.
right after Ted did.
I'm sorry. 7 yeas, 0 nay, motion carries.
Very good. All right, the next item is old business, of which there's none this evening, so we'll move on to new business. This will be presented by Catherine Cerniak. And this is consideration of a request to authorize the city manager to be a co-applicant with the Lake Forest Open Land Association to the Illinois Nature Preserve Commission for acceptance of the dedication of 48.7 acres of the Jean and John Green Nature Preserve at McCormick Ravine as a nature preserve.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. For many decades, the city and the community and Lake Forest Open Lands have really been partners in preservation of open lands, and our community shows it. We have, Ryan will be able to quote how many acres we have of preserved open land. This is really a continuation of that commitment to preservation of open land. In 2018, the city of Lake Forest and Lake Forest Open Land worked together to transfer some properties. McCormick Nature Preserve, located in the southeast portion of the community, portions of Ellowa Farm, and what was then Lake Forest Open Lands Park, which is today Veterans Park. There was some transfer of lands to better align those properties with the mission of the city and with Lake Forest Open Land and with the uses, both active uses and passive uses. As a result of that, there's been significant restoration that has occurred in what is today the Jean and John Green Nature Preserve at McCormick Ravine. This is really a continuation of recognizing the uniqueness of that environment and really essentially putting it on the map and calling it to the attention of people throughout the state of Illinois. That was just a bit of background I provided. I'm going to review next the action that's requested of you tonight, but then I'm going to turn it over to the expert, Ryan London, who's the president and CEO of Lake Forest Open Lands Association. What is requested of you tonight is authorization for the city manager on behalf of the city to be a co-applicant to the Illinois Nature Preserve Commission to dedicate a portion of McCormick as a nature preserve. Their process takes about a year sometimes, maybe a little less, maybe a little more, but the actual agreement, if the dedication is accepted by the Illinois Nature Preserve Commission, will come back to the council ultimately for approval. So tonight, it's just a request to authorize the city manager to be a co-applicant. And with that, I will turn it over to you, Ryan. Thanks, Kathy.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and the members of the City Council. As Kathy mentioned, this is really the final step in a 14-year partnership for the preservation of McCormick Ravine. So that started back in 2014 when Lake Forest Open Lands identified, and we pursued the opportunity to secure up to $3.5 million of federal funding to repair and restore the failing yet historic McCormick Ravine, the woods, and the surrounding lakeshore area before that funding period ended. And so after the discovery of this opportunity in 2014, we entered into a memorandum of understanding between both organizations in 2015. Many of the things that Kathy just outlined took place with the swapping of the lands, Lake Forest Open Lands, overseeing that federal investment and the successful completion of that project. Since then, including that original federal investment, the total investment that we've brought to the McCormick Ravine area is $13.7 million. 9.7 of that has come through grants, including our recently awarded $6 million grant through the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and the remaining $4 million was through private donations. Once that transfer that Kathy mentioned took place, Lake Forest Open Lands began the process of the final design for the nature preserve, so the trails, the infrastructure, the award-winning bridge, and then the construction took place ending in 2022. Since we opened the preserve to the public in March of 2023, there's been 16,322 visitors to the site. So I'll talk a little bit about the Illinois Nature Preserve Commission. So, and this was a step that was outlined on page 4 of the Memorandum of Understanding, that Lake Forest Open Lands intent to dedicate that site as an Illinois Nature Preserve, which is the highest level of conservation land protection available in the state of Illinois. The first nature preserve that Lake Forest Open Lands dedicated was our Skokie River Nature Preserve in 1992, one of the first dedications in Lake County. And then since then, we've dedicated an additional 13 parcels as part of the nature preserve system. The nature preserve system was established in 1963. It was the first nature preserve system in the country. The goal is to preserve and protect Illinois' highest quality natural areas and habitats for endangered and threatened species. It works with both public and private landowners. You'll see a map later in the presentation that shows all of the Illinois nature preserves in our surrounding area. Lake County Forest Preserve. There's several private residents that have dedicated Illinois nature preserves, Lake Bluff Open Lands, as well as Lake Forest Open Lands. It's voluntary, and they only select uniquely qualifying land into the Nature Preserves Commission. So their key program areas are protecting natural areas. As I mentioned, they protect only the finest woodlands, prairies, and wetlands. As of August of 2023, the system included 622 protected sites covering 121,000 acres across 94 counties. They've always had their eye on McCormick Woods. It was first identified in the 1976 Illinois Natural Areas Inventory, number 1008. As I mentioned, it is voluntary, so landowners can dedicate their property as a permanent nature preserve. This means the owner retains custody while restricting future uses, and it preserves the land's natural state. Benefits, there's many different benefits. The Nature Preserves Commission provides stewardship assistance to help manage the site. They also help provide funding, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. The Nature Preserves Commission and its partners provide leadership in the management of these protected lands, which includes invasive species control, prescribed burns, and habitat restoration. The preserved areas also serve as a scientific area of study and focus for education, for recreation. The system also acts as a genetic storehouse for rare plants and animal species. There's many different groups that the commission partners with. I think accomplishments and recognition is really important to mention. So as I mentioned, Illinois was a pioneer, the very first state in the nation to establish a nature preserve system. It is, as I mentioned, the highest level of land protection available to the state, and highly admirable amongst my conservation peers. And in 2017, Lake Forest Open Lands helped draft the Illinois Natural Areas Stewardship Act. So this is a grant program, a competitive grant program, funding through the state that annually conservation land trusts are allowed to apply for grant funding only for dedicated Illinois Nature Preserve sites. So since its inaugural year of the grant cycle in 2022, we've received $150,000 to help steward our natural areas. So that goes to volunteer training, equipment, and actual contract labor to help do the work. So this would open one more site to allow additional resources in addition to the volunteers, actual dollars going into the site. I think some key considerations for council as we look at the map of the property, and I'll go through these lots, but the city-owned property that's for consideration here is Lot 4, right there in the middle of the property. So the camp area that's within Lot 4 is not included in this dedication. The entirety of Lot 4 is already under a dedicated conservation easement with Lake Forest Open Lands, which has even more restrictions than what you'll see in the final dedication as we come back. There is Lake Forest Open Lands will retain full responsibility for maintaining the area for consideration of the nature preserve. That's currently how the responsibility is allocated. And as I mentioned, the Illinois Nature Preserve dedication creates opportunities for additional resources. So I'm going to quickly go over the acreages because I don't have them memorized. So Lot 1, so there's two different types of nature preserve dedication. There's actual nature preserve and buffer. And buffer has a little bit more flexibility. We have selected buffer for the western two most lots because we have parking lots and we have things that might need to be changed over the years. So Lot 1, that in its entirety, that's 3.8 acres, and 1.7 of it will be dedicated as nature preserve buffer. Lot 2, which is where the old Army landfill that was removed in 2016, that's currently owned by Lake Forest Open Lands affiliate, the Lake Forest Land Foundation. That lot in its entirety is 0.8 acres, and 0.65 of that will be buffer. Lot 3, the city lot, is not up for conversation with the dedication, so that remains owned by the city of Lake Forest. Lot 4 in its entirety is 16 acres, and we carved out the camp area that resides within Lot 4. We used the contour of the crest of the tableland, so it's just where that tableland behind the camp goes down into the ravine, where there's a high richness and density of rare and threatened endangered species. And then Lot 5 in its entirety is 33 acres, and 32.3 is going to be dedicated because we own a big chunk of Lake Michigan, and the Nature Preserve Commission didn't want to include that in this dedication. There is one more lot off of Circle Lane that's part of the subdivision, the 0.4 acre lot, and that is not being, that the city owns, and that's not being included in the Nature Preserve dedication. So my final slide here, and I'll open it up for comments, is the map of all the dedicated nature preserve sites within the community. So you'll see almost the entirety of the Middle Fork, including several privately owned conservation easements up here in the northern part, all of Lake Bluff Open Lands, Skokie River Land and Water Reserve, our Skokie River Nature Preserve, our Derwin-Marr Nature Preserve, going south all the way to Deer Path, as well as Middle Fork Farm and Melody Farm.
Comments or questions? Mr. London? Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
For the presentation. So at this time, I'm going to ask for public comment. Is there any? Seeing none. I'd like to ask for a motion to authorize the city manager to be a co-applicant with the Lake Forest Open Land Association of the Illinois Nature Preserve Commission for acceptance of the dedication of 48.7 acres of the Gene and John Green Nature Preserve at the McCormick Ravine as a nature preserve. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
This will be a roll call vote.
Alderman Powers.
Aye.
Alderman Levert.
Aye.
Alderman Weber.
Aye.
Alderman Walther.
Aye.
Alderman Novit. Aye. Clemens.
Aye.
Alderman Notes.
Aye.
7 yeas, 0 nays. Motion carries.
Very good. All right, the next item is comments by council members. Is there anyone on the council that would like to make additional comments this evening? Hearing none. Then what we will be doing is asking for a motion to adjourn into executive session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2 C1. The city council will be discussing specific personnel. There will be no further business following executive session. May I have for a motion to adjourn into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
A roll call vote.
Alderman Levert.
Aye.
Alderman Weber,
Aye.
Alderman Walder,
Aye.
Alderman Novit,
Aye.
Alderman Clements,
Aye.
Alderman Note,
Aye.
Alderman Power.
Aye.
Yea, 0 nay, motion carries.
Very good. We will adjourn into executive session. Good evening.